It's Halloween, that great time of year where kids dress up and go trick-or-treating. Me? Nah, I stay home and watch monster movies. That's the best part of this holiday is the movies. Nothing satisfies like a good monster flick. That's why I'm starting Olive Wood Films' HELLoween. Every year on Halloween, I'll review one of my favorite horror movies. So welcome to the first annual HELLoween. This year I'll be reviewing my all-time favorite monster movie, Little Shop of Horrors from 1986. This one's got quite a legacy, and I'm not skipping anything, so get comfy. The Little Shop of Horrors started as an old 1960 horror comedy from director Roger Corman. It's about a nerdy florist named Seymour Krelboyne who cares for a man-eating plant with a voracious appetite.
But that ain't fair, Mr. Mushnick. You know what I'm doing? I'm working on a special surprise plant just for you. I'm growing a plant like you ain't never seen before.
Excellent. I can't even sell the plants I got in my shop. Out, you!
The movie was shot in only 2 days on sets left over from another film. It's also the picture that launched the career of actor Jack Nicholson.
I have 3 or 4 abscesses, a touch of pyorrhea, 9 or 10 cavities, I lost my pivot tooth, and I'm in terrible pain.
What's funny is that he's only in one scene in the whole movie, yet he gets more credit than Jonathan Hayes, who plays Seymour. In 1982, Howard Ashman and Alan Menken made it into an off-Broadway musical, one of the most classic musicals to date. Acquiring the rights wasn't very hard, considering Roger Corman never bothered to copyright the movie, so it's been in the public domain ever since. The musical played for 5 years at the Orpheum Theater in New York City and starred Lee Wilkoff as Seymour and Ellen Greene as his ditzy co-worker Audrey. 4 years later, Muppet veteran Frank Oz directed the big-budget movie adaptation of the musical. The film starred Rick Moranis as Seymour, Krelboyne this time,
Very little, Mr. Mushnick.
and Ellen Greene reprised her role as Audrey. The movie also features some incredible talents, including the late Vincent Gardenia as Mr. Mushnick, the grouchy owner of Mushnick's Flower Shop,
Business is lousy. My life is a living hell.
Steve Martin as Orin Scrivello DDS, Audrey's abusive dentist
What do
boyfriend,
you call that thing?
Audrey, too?
Cute name. It's catchy. Nice plant. Big.
and a whole bunch of other crazy cameos. They all play their parts fantastically,
Hello, Seymour.
but the character that really steals the show is Audrey 2, the rapidly growing man-eating plant bent on world domination. The plant was created by animatronics wizard Lyle Conway and voiced by Levi Stubbs of the Four Tops. Whenever I listen to the Four Tops, I try to imagine Audrey 2 singing it. I gotta say, this is some of the best puppetry I've ever seen. Anyway, Mushnick's Flower Shop on Skid Row, New York is going down the drain. Their business is just dead. Mushnick decides to close the shop for good. That is, until Seymour reveals his new plant that he got during a solar eclipse. A customer, played by Christopher Guest, notices the plant in the window and ends up spending $100 on roses. When the shop closes, Mushnick plans to take Seymour and Audrey to dinner to celebrate their successful day of business. Unfortunately, Audrey has a date with her abusive boyfriend and can't go. Of course, we learn later on that she doesn't really love him, but longs for a life somewhere that's green with Seymour. Anyway, Audrey 2 wilts and shrivels up, so Mushnick forces Seymour to stay and take care of it. While begging the plant to grow, he pricks his finger on a rose and discovers the plant has a taste for blood. Over time, the plant grows bigger and bigger, making Seymour more and more famous. We also meet Audrey's sadistic boyfriend, Orin Scrivello DDS. He's arguably the funniest character in the movie. One night, the plant, now about 6 feet tall, collapses. Seymour, who is anemic at this point, has nothing left to give. But to his surprise, the plant starts to talk. That's right, he's got a talking, bloodthirsty plant. Doesn't get more badass than that. The plant starts demanding to be fed full human bodies in exchange for Seymour's fame and fortune. When Seymour refuses, claiming he doesn't know anyone who deserves to be killed, he sees Orin slap Audrey in the face across the street. He can't stand to see the girl he loves treated so badly, so he plans to kill him and feed him to the plant. He goes to his office with a gun, posing as a dental patient. Orin puts on a special gas mask that releases nitrous oxide. He accidentally breaks the knob off the mask and can't take it off. Seymour, who is too squeamish to shoot him, decides to let the sadist asphyxiate. Orin is done in by an overdose of laughing gas. Seymour chops up the body and feeds it to the plant. The next day, Audrey hears about Orin's disappearance, and while relieved, she feels guilty for wishing something like this would happen. Seymour comforts her with one of the greatest love ballads in musical history. Later on, Mushnick, who saw Seymour chop up the dentist, threatens to turn him into the police, unless Seymour gives him control over the plant. That's when we realize that he's not doing this for justice or anything, he just wants to take over Seymour's success. So you can guess what happens next. Seymour grows more and more famous, but the guilt is eating him alive, no pun intended. After being offered a large sum of money by a television studio, he decides to take the money and leave Skid Row with Audrey. Later, Seymour once again refuses to feed the plant and goes out. But Toohey has other plans, so he calls Audrey across the street. She comes over and the plant attacks her. Seymour returns and rescues her just in time. He takes her outside and... Wait a minute, what? That's not what happened in the play. In the play, Audrey gets killed by the plant. Well, they did shoot the alternate unhappy ending, but test audiences hated it, so they went back to London and reshot the ending. In the theatrical cut of the film, Audrey is attacked, Seymour takes her outside, and she survives. She confesses that she had always loved him from the first time they met. A man named Patrick Martin, played by Jim Belushi, shows up and proposes mass-producing the Audrey 2 and selling them worldwide. That's when Seymour and Audrey finally realize what this was all about, world domination. He throws Martin out and goes in the shop to confront the plant. After one last song, Toohey pulls down the building. Seymour is crushed beneath the rubble. But while the plant laughs in triumph, he doesn't notice Seymour's hand emerge from the rubble holding a live wire. He electrocutes the plant, causing it to explode. Seymour somehow survives, and he and Audrey get married and move somewhere that's green. However, the camera pans down to reveal a small Audrey 2 in the garden. It smiles at the audience, and it ends. As a happy ending, I think that's the best way they could have done it. In the alternate ending I mentioned, Audrey is attacked, but she doesn't survive. She asks Seymour to feed her to the plant when she dies, so he'll continue gaining success. She sings a tear-jerking reprise of Somewhere That's Green, dies, and is fed to the plant. Seymour, broken-hearted, climbs to the roof of her apartment with the intention of jumping. He is stopped by Patrick Martin, played by Paul Dooley in this version. He makes his offer and Seymour confronts the plant. From this point on, everything is the same until the building is pulled down. Seymour emerges from the rubble and is eaten by Audrey 2. The movie ends with a montage of people flocking to buy the new consumer craze, the Audrey 2. What follows is some of the most amazing model work ever filmed. A huge monster movie apocalypse mashup of an army of giant Audrey 2s taking over the world. The effects were done by Richard Conway, who did an amazing job. The footage of the original ending was basically scrapped until 1998 when the special edition DVD was released, with the footage as a bonus feature. But it was an unfinished black and white copy that was missing a lot of sound effects. That pissed off producer David Geffen, so he had the DVDs pulled off the shelves about a week later. That made Little Shop the first DVD to be recalled for content. Since the film was released, the original color negatives were presumed lost. That is, until the movie was released on Blu-ray in 2012 with the original ending intact, fully restored in color with brand new sound effects and revised music. I was nervous that it was going to look fake and crappy, but I was blown away. The movie was beautifully remastered and it looks and it sounds amazing. This movie is a prime example of why practical effects are better than CGI. No doubt today the plant would be totally computer animated, but look how real this thing is. The largest puppet weighed over a ton and took over 60 people to operate. It was made of foam rubber, which couldn't move very fast, which it needed to lip sync. So what they did was they acted the scene out in slow motion and sped up the footage. So whenever an actor was in a shot with the plant, they had to move and talk very slowly to get the interaction with the plant to look right. But unless you were told, you would never be able to tell. All of the plant effects were done live on the set. No green screens, no opticals, nothing. That's what makes it so impressive. The film was only moderately successful in theaters. However, it was nominated for 2 Oscars. It lost both of them. It only grew popular upon its home video release. I still remember seeing it for the first time. My sister used to work at an old movie rental store called Movies and More, so she could rent movies for free. She brought that home on VHS one day, and I've loved it ever since. The movie spawned a ton of merchandise, including books, trading cards, piggy banks, and even a Saturday morning cartoon in the early 90s. It's also become one of the most popular high school plays around. This has always been my favorite movie, so if you haven't seen it, go check it out. And for the love of God, whatever they offer you, don't feed the plants. Comment below what you'd like to see reviewed next year. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment.